Okay, so this is a box with a lid. It's going to have a separate lid that removes completely from the box. And it will also have a base. So let me show you what we have here. We have two identical pieces of board that will be the base of the box and also the lid of the box. So we'll have a box that looks like this. Today I'm going to show you how to cover boards. So we're going to go ahead and cover two boards the same. Then we also have the inner lid. So this board is cut small enough to fit inside. You see how it fell right in there. We are going to cover that inner lid with a piece of paper. So I'm doing two boards with book cloth and one board with paper. And that is intended to be part of this box right here. I'm just going to set that off to the side for a second. Like I said, these two boards are identical. One will become the base, one will become the lid. And I can decide that as if there are any mess ups or irregularities or anything like that that I don't care for, I will put that one on the bottom. So I'm just gonna do this and then make a decision at the end. In order to keep my work area clean, I'm just gonna move everything out of the way for the moment. Ooh, headphones. Okay, so you know, I like to work on a waste sheet that keeps the glue where the glue belongs. It allows me to glue over here and not get glue anywhere else. This is one of my baseboards. This is the same book cloth that is covering my box, and I'm going to put some glue on the board and then adhere it to the book cloth. You see me do this once already. I just am applying the glue directly to the board, and I'm taking my large brush. You can see over here my small brush is gluey already, and I have it sitting in a small reserve of glue in a cup. Just because I know I'm not going to use it again immediately, but I also don't want to put it in water because the water thins the glue and affects the paper, the board, and the cloth. Okay, so I've got my glue. It's starting to spread here. I'm moving from the center of the board outward to the edges, and I got a few hairs coming off there. I'm gonna want to get those out of my glue. There's one. Sometimes a brush will shed. It's just a thing that happens. If you see a hair, I would tell you to pick it out so it doesn't leave a noticeable wrinkle in or whatever mark under your paper or book cloth. Oh, there's another one. So there we go. Just got that there. Okay. So I spread my glue out. Now I'm giving it a tap to kind of reduce the brush strokes. Make kind of I call it a stucco-like texture, just kind of a, tappy tap. That does two things. It kind of piles the glue. It makes a lot of surface area for the glue to dry to, stick to, things to stick to. Okay, so now I've got my gluey board and I'm holding it between my fingers. You know, I'm checking the edge. I don't want glue hanging over the edge. I've tried to avoid that. Now I'm going to put my board down and I'm trying to leave an equal margin. I'm trying to leave an equal margin. You know, I like things to be square. Leaving an equal margin on both sides and the bottom. I just plop that board down smack in the middle of the book cloth. I'm gonna flip that over real quick and just give it a little rub down on this side with my bone folder. One thing I did not say earlier, and I would like to say now, is let's talk about grain direction. In one of my previous videos, I mentioned grain direction, that I mark your boards ahead of time so you can see the grain direction. Should be marked in pencil. The grain of this board is heading up and down this way, and the book cloth has been cut so that the grain direction is matching. You can see this mark right here that I've made. I've done that intentionally so so that the grain direction is going the same way. So when you put the gluey board and the dry piece of paper, those fibers tend to curl and what do I want to say? They tend to curl and buckle in the same direction. And that means when it dries, they'll lay down nice and flat. So you can imagine, if my fingers are like grain direction, you can imagine fibers laying on top of each other, and that they all are kind of like kind of settling together when they're adhered, when they're glued. If you glue cross grain, I'll do this with my fingers again, you can see that there's like little tiny air spaces, and like one will want to curve one way and one will want to go the other way. And that creates tension and causes boards and things to warp and get out of whack. So when you have a board that's like woo, very wavy and wobbly, likely is that the paper and the board are not following the same grain direction. Now, I have tried to make sure that that is the case. On your handouts, you'll notice mention of grain direction as well. So I've tried to mark the measurement. In red that is on the follows the grain side, like that follows the grain direction. So if the grain direction, like for this measurement, is 6 and something, let's go 6.5. So on the handout for this, if you look, you'll notice the measurement for 6.5 will be in red, indicating grain direction. The measurement for and oh Lord, 1, 2, 3, 4 3/8 should be in black, indicating cross grain direction. So that just is a subtlety that will help you think about grain direction as you're working, and help you remember for the future. Okay, so easy peasy, right? Like I just threw some glue on the board, moved it around, slapped it down there. I seem to be okay. Our next step for covering a board is going to be to fold these sides in. But before we do that, we are going to, in order to do that, I'm taking a piece of bookboard. This is a scrap piece. Actually, this isn't a scrap piece. This is a piece from our bookway. But you'll get to the point where you can eyeball this. Anyway, I am using a piece of bookboard, and I'm holding the bookboard at a 45-degree angle to the corner. And this is the line that I'm going to cut upon. And you can eyeball this as well. I'm just giving you like a good approximation of a 45-degree angle. So between the corner of the bookboard and the line, you want to leave about one bookboard's width of material. And the reason for that is you want the bookboard to cleanly wrap around the corner without exposing the board. But you don't want so much material there that that it makes an ugly, thick corner. So using my scissor, I'm just cutting along that line. And after you do 100, after you do 100, you'll get to the point where you can kind of eyeball that distance. Being a box builder, I rarely draw the lines anymore. I usually just snip it with my scissor at this point in my life. But you're going to end up with this strangely octagonal shaped board and cloth. And we have these tabs, and now when we fold them in, you'll see that we'll get a nice neat corner. All right, friends, I am going to give myself a clean waste sheet. We're into outerwear in my waste sheet. I'm going to leave my my big brush over in the gluey bit, and I'm going to switch to my smaller brush. I know I didn't make this, I made that optional for you guys, but my gluey brush, my smaller brush has been sitting in the glue reserve, and it's quite full of glue. So I'm gonna knock some of that off and just get a tiny bit on the end. You can see that I knocked most of that off, and I just have a little bit on the end. I also like working from the bottle, and I'll do that next, but since I have a little bit of glue on this brush, I'm going to use it. So I'm just going along this edge closest to you, and again, as you've seen me do in the past, I'm trying to make sure that I get glue onto the edge of the board here. Right, can you see that edge of the board? It's catching a little bit of glue. I don't want there to be an air gap in there. I really want the cloth to adhere to the board. And then I'm going to push the rest of that glue out to the edge. I'm pushing the rest of the glue out to the edge. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to go around just the tiniest bit more glue, if I can get it. I'm going to go around the there we go. I'm going to go around the corner just the slightest little bit, boop and boop, I'm going around the corners, and I will show you why in just a minute. It's gonna help me make a neat corner. Okay, so that's the gluey part. I'm picking up the back of the board and I'm pressing down as I kind of lift the board to perpendicular with the table. And you might see a little bead of glue squeeze out from underneath, and that is a-okay. And then I'm gonna roll that forward. I'm rolling that forward or away from myself while I kind of press down into the edge. And the idea there is I'm trying to get any air that might be trapped under the cloth and in the glue. I'm trying to get that out of there. So we get good adhesion all around. Okay, I got a little bit of glue squeezing out here, and I'm just gonna try to be a better practitioner today and use my micro spatula to pull that up. Okay, all right, so once I've got this part kind of neatly mashed down and I'm not spreading glue anywhere, you will see that I still have a little glue popping out right there in the corner, and also on this side just a tiny bit of glue right there in the corner. Okay, so again, I've glued this side, I've pushed it down, and there's this little tiny margin that is sticking out. Ooh, there we go, focus. So you have this little teeny tiny bit of fabric that is overhanging the, sorry, every time I move, that's overhanging the edge of the board. Okay, so I hope you can see that right there. I'm going to set this down onto the table. I'm going to take my bone folder, and let me just move that back so we're center of the frame. I'm going to take my bone folder and like push it around the corner, kind of flat to the table. So like I'm going this way on the edge, and then I go around the corner, and in doing so, I think you can see this, I have just pushed that little tiny bit of fabric right there. I've just turned that in and pushed it down. It's like making a teeny tiny fold right there. Can you see that? All right, so then, okay, so then I'm going to get rid of this little bit of excess glue. Okay, I've done that so that when I come back with this edge, it makes a really neat corner. And you see that when I see that there? And then I fold it up, and it's going to make a really nice, neat corner. And I will do that on each corner, right? So I'm starting by gluing the short edge, and then we get that little this little overhang, and I'll push the corner in on the short edge so that it's already glued down and ready to go when I come to do the long edge. So I'm going to do that again, up close and personal here. I realize as I'm making this video that like I'm working with really like a color of cloth that's almost the same color as the board, and on a white surface. Got a little too much glue, so I'm knocking some off my brush if you're wondering what the heck I'm doing. Okay, so with my bottle I put that little bead of glue in there, to kind of mash it down into the corner. Right there it is. You can see it getting really good on the edge. There's glue there. And I'm also just gonna carry a little bit of that glue around the corner, so when I do that maneuver with my bone folder, there's something to adhere it to. In the interest of cleanliness, I'm gonna quick fold that over and get rid of that. Okay, now with my board facing away from me, I'm gonna just tip it up perpendicular to the table and then almost fold it forward and in front of me for just a second as I flip it over. And what I've done there is just squoze all the air out of that front edge, and whoop, and there I go. I'm just gonna adhere that down, just making sure it's nice and tight. Try to get rid of any excess glue. Nothing is really squeezing out, so that's good. Okay. There's a little bit. And again, I'm going to take the flat side of my bone folder and I'm going to go around the corner and kind of tip that little bit of fabric right in on the corner there. Okay, right there. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to go flat and then around the corner and push that little bit of fabric in right there. Now you can use the point if you have a bone folder. If you have a bone folder that's shaped like this, you can use the point of that and the flat side kind of this way. There we are. So now when we go to the long side, you see that we have two nice turned in corners, and those are adhered down. And when we come to do the long side, whoa, voila, it's going to make this lovely little corner. Okay, super duper. Let's do that. See what I was doing, but now let's refocus here. There we go. There it is. Making sure we got glue on the edge of the board. I'm missing a spot down here. See that edge of the board all the way across? There we go. Oh, there's a little gap down here. Don't put your, do you see that glue on this jacket? Don't put your board in that. Turn the page. Boy, I love a cheap catalog. It makes me so happy. It's an endless source of, it is an endless source of waste sheets to have some sort of product catalog. I do like the glossy magazine sheets as opposed to like newsprint, you know, like a newspaper, because it doesn't transfer to your project. All right, so there I just did one long side. I'm going to do the same on the other side. So I start on that edge and then trying to get glue on the board and on the cloth at the same time, and then I push that out, smooth that out to the edge, and if it goes off the edge, hey, that is a-okay, because we've got a waste sheet there to catch the excess glue. go, just folding that forward. Now I'm going to hit it with my bone folder. Ta-da! Great. This is a beautiful little covered board, and I can put this under wax paper and apply my weight, my book weight. You will see a slight bowing of the board, and that's why I put them under weight. If you've got a heavy book or a brick or whatever, something heavy like that, you can just apply some pressure as this dries. Just some even flat pressure. You know, get out that Encyclopedia Britannica, and you know, put some books on that. That's super. This board, one will become the base, and we will adhere the tray to the base like that. The other one will become the lid, and it will have the inner lid adhered in here, and that'll fit right on top of the box like so. So yeah. Okay, more to come.